So today I'm going to show you how to create a neon effect in Photoshop, and we're going to be using the pen tool and our brush tool to do this. You also want to find kind of an image that will create a fun neon silhouette. So think cactuses, think flamingos, even a unicorn, but kind of a simple silhouette overall. And you want to be able to see the profile of the shape. So look online for these images. Once you've found one, open it up into Photoshop. Okay, so then we are going to go through and we are going to use the pen tool to outline this. Now you also want to think about the fact that this is going to be like a neon statue. So neon statues usually have a starting point and an end point. So even though typically I would try to trace the sides of the legs, I'm going to just use the legs as kind of the starting point and end point of the neon. So I'm going to click here and start to create this shape. Now if you remember when we've used our pen tools before, you can click and drag to get these little handles here that will pull the path one way or the other. And then if you hold your Option key and click back on that anchor, it will delete that last handle so that you have more control going forward. So now I can click and drag to kind of create that path, and then Option key, click back on that anchor so that that deletes that last handle. So click and drag, Option, anchor. Now here with each of these individual feathers, I'm going to just try to look for the overall shape here, not necessarily all of the details, because again, this is like a neon statue, so a neon statue isn't going to have every single feather in there. I'm also going to ignore this part here, so I'm just going to go up here, click and drag, Option, click back. If you haven't used the pen tool in a while, just a reminder that it's not like drawing. You actually go to where you want the next part of your path to end, and then you click and drag. It's almost like connect the dots. So you know, from here, I want my path to end here. So I'm going to click and drag in that spot so that I can create that path in between those 2 points. And if you remember too, with the pen tool, you can't do more than 90 degrees. So I couldn't go up here and try to make this curve. I have to go down here and make this part of the curve. And then I can kind of go up here and try to make that fit. So if you get a little greedy with it, it doesn't quite work. So again, click and drag. Let's see if I might be getting a little greedy here right after I said that, but no, that's pretty good. And again, since this is neon, you can simplify it a little bit as you're going along. You don't have to have it, you know, precise. You just want to be able to, for the most part, tell what it is, well, absolutely tell what it is, and see enough detail that it's interesting, okay? So we don't need to have every single feather, every single little bump in the beak, even though I did get quite a few of those. But we do want it to be fairly precise so that we can still tell what this is, and it will look nice when it's done. So again, clicking and dragging, Option key, click back on that anchor. And then here I'm pretty much back to the legs, so I'm just going to take that simply down into the water. All right, so now I get to do the fun part. I've got my shape of my flamingo here. I want to create a layer on top of my image layer. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the little new layer tab down here. And then I need to create kind of a neon color. So if you think about neon, we're talking like bright oranges, bright yellows, bright pinks, bright blues even. So when you go into your colors, you want to be over in this top, or in your color picker. Let me pull this up so you guys can see it. You want to be up in this top high saturation corner. So anywhere in this top quarter of your color picker is where you want to be. Depending on the layer that you're in, that's going to look different. Still try to find something that's really, really bright. Like this is a nice neon color. This last color I had is a nice neon color. Orange maybe, but even red, like that's a really bold, almost neon color. So think about what in the past you've seen as a neon color. And again, you want that to be very high saturation, so that's kind of up in this top right quadrant of your color picker. Once you have what you want, hit OK. I'm going to hit cancel because I already have my color over here that I like. Then I'm going to go into my brush tool. And I want to, if I zoom in here, hopefully you guys can see this, I want to have a brush that is probably about this wide. I don't want it to really touch, like if I have these two paths here, when it strokes the path, I don't want these two to touch each other, but I want a good width on this first brush application that I'm laying down. So this is looking pretty good to me. I wouldn't go too much wider than this, and maybe you could go a little bit smaller, like this isn't too bad, but I'm gonna go with this and just see how I like it. I can always undo it if I don't. So there's two ways that you can apply a brush stroke to your path. Make sure you're in a new layer for this, and then if you want to, after you've set up your brush, you can go back to your pen tool and right click and stroke the path, or you can just hit return while you're in the pen tool. Now, while you're in the brush tool, I'm sorry. The last thing, and I almost forgot to tell you about this, the last thing that you need to do is in your brush tool, make sure that you are in the right brush. And the brush that you want is a general brush, soft round. So select soft round, and then again, get your size here. You can size up and down using your bracket keys, so that closed bracket key is going to make it larger and the open bracket key is going to make it smaller. So use that and kind of line that up with your path to see what you like. And since I am in my brush tool, I can just go ahead and hit return, and that will apply that brush to my path. So if I zoom out now, if I hit Command 0, that'll zoom me all the way out, or Command minus will zoom out as well, or you can go up to View and then zoom in or out that way as well. I like this. I think it's looking pretty good. It looks very neon-like to me, but it's still not completely neon. So the other thing that we need to do, if you think about neon, there's usually like a central part of that neon tube that's really, really light. So what you want to do is create a new layer, and then you want to go back into your color picker by clicking on your foreground here, and then you're going to go over into the left upper quadrant and choose a color over there. So it's going to be a very light color. So no matter what color you're in, you're choosing kind of these kind of tones, these really pastel kind of tones, okay? I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel, but when you have yours, you're going to hit OK. My color that I want is right here. I used that before, so I'm just going to click on it, and it's going to set as my foreground color now. And then the last thing that I want to do before I actually apply this is, let's see here, I want to decrease the size of my brush. So I'm going to decrease that probably 2 times, maybe 3, let's see, maybe even 4. And again, because I have a layer above here, if I don't like it, I can redo it. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm in the brush tool, I'm going to hit return, and there I have applied my lighter brush. Now if I think that's too big, I can either Command Option Z to undo that and then take that brush down a little bit more and hit return, or I could just turn the visibility off of that layer, create a new layer, and then try it at some different sizes. I'm going to go ahead and do that because I want to show you guys too, I don't think I showed you, if you were in the pen tool, the other way you can apply this is you can go Control click and stroke the path with the brush and hit OK, and that will do the same thing. Once you're done, you can hit delete, and that should delete that path, and this is what you're left with. Now it looks pretty neon-like, but we don't want to see that image behind there. So what we need to do is create a black background. The easiest way to do that is just to create a color overlay for your image layer. So we will double click on this. Now you probably have that set to your background layer and it's locked, so you'll need to unlock that or rename it before you get into this menu. So if you have to do it, do that, and then you can double click and get into this menu. You're going to go down to the words color overlay, click on the words color overlay, because if you just check it, you're not going to get into this menu here. And then you're going to click on this rectangle if it doesn't already show black, and you're going to type 0000000. That's the hexadecimal code for black. So once you have that, hit OK. We'll hit OK. And now, oh, that's what it should look like. So I guess I had my color overlay off for some reason. And that looks pretty good. That looks like a neon image. So again, you can try this with words. You can try this with different silhouettes. But have some fun creating some neon images in Photoshop, and I look forward to seeing what you guys create. All right.